what the difference between like anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist is.
And they're tricking everyone to thinking that people who define themselves as Zionists are supporting evil. And they're trying to redefine anti-Zionism by anti-colonialism in order to attach colonialism to Zionism. So he's like demonizing me, he knows nothing about me.
I'm gonna let his videos talk for himself. I'm gonna let his videos talk for himself. You can
go watch my videos. We're actually engaged with Palestinians and we actually figure things out on the ground. Which videos have you seen?
What's your name, my man?
RUdy.
RUdy? I'm Tawny. Nice to meet you. So what's your platform?
So I'm an activist for Jewish rights in Israel, and I live in Israel and I build relations between the Palestinians and the Israelis. So there are activists within the Palestinian communities that their voices are shut down by the PA and Hamas that actually believe in a reality where both populations can live together. Because in my opinion and the people on the ground that live there's no future where Palestinians disappear or Israelis disappear. So the only way to move forward is to stop politicizing everything and polarizing each other and to find a way to come together, solving the injustices that both experience and fulfilling the aspirations that both need. And so the way that starts is first of all by a conversation, by humanizing both sides, whereas we've been like cultured to think that Palestinians are all our enemies or Israelis are all the Palestinians' enemies, and to start changing that and to actually figure out what do we need to create to live together. So that is the work that I do. But SJP believes in anti-normalization, meaning we don't engage or discuss with any Israeli or anyone that supports Israel. So how do you actually build a future if you're not even willing to engage? So the anti-normalization policy I think is a clear example of how individuals claim to support Palestinian rights, but in reality and in my opinion, are using the suffering of Palestinians as a political ammunition to attack Israel.
I think dialogue is incredibly important, but I mean, I can't help but believe that like the Israeli government has definitely had some dangerous behavior.
I disagree with a lot of things the Israeli government did and the Palestinian authorities did, but that doesn't define all Israelis or all Palestinians.
Oh yeah.
Right. The same way I don't think everyone is defined by Trump and his campus. Right. So I don't think we can this is something that a lot of people do. It's like they try to smear the identity of Israel and the Jewish people by like taking things that they disagree with in politics. And like the vast majority of Israelis disagree with politics. Every civilization disagrees with the politics of their country. So we have to like separate the two. There's a population, there's an ethnic conflict that exists, there's two populations fighting each other, and we have to stop like allowing that to happen.
It's really important, I think, especially like on a campus and like an institution like this, is like people are very confused as to what the difference between like anti-Semitism and anti-Zionist is. And so I think that's two very distinct ideologies, very distinct like kind of ideas, but sure, yeah.
So wait, first, what is anti-Zionism to you? What is Zionism?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that like someone who claims to be like anti-Zionist is more like militarization of like the Israeli state.
So Zionism is the militarization of the Israeli state?
Not necessarily just the militarization, but I would say, to be quite honest with you, this is not my forte of like education.
So the definition of Zionism is the self-determination of the Jewish people on their ancestral homeland. Now, if you take that idea, then there's like right Zionism, left Zionism, religious Zionism, secular Zionism. There's all sorts of different branches that stem off of the word Zionism, right? And anyone that believes the Jews have a right to self-determine there is a Zionist. So I'm consider myself a Zionist because I define it by the actual definition. And then there's a group of people that say anti-Zionism equals ending the suffering of Palestinians in order to get people to the conclusion that Zionism must mean suffering of Palestinians. And they're tricking everyone to thinking that people who define themselves as Zionists are supporting evil. But anyone that defines themselves as a Zionist, ask them what Zionism means to them and they'll tell you the right for the Jewish people to live there, having nothing to do with another people living or not living there. They have a right to live there as well. It just means the Jews have a right to live in Israel the same way Tibetans should have a right to live in Tibet, Aboriginals should have a right to have a native homeland, Native Americans and Native Canadians should have a right and access to their land, the Jews should have a right to live in Judea. So that's what Zionism means. And anti-Zionism is against the indigenous people self-determining their homeland. And they're trying to redefine anti-Zionism by anti-colonialism in order to attach colonialism to Zionism. It's an attempt to kind of delegitimize and demonize the movement of the Jewish people, and the only movement in the history of the world that actually succeeded in liberating their homeland, the indigenous people, from an invader nation being the British.
I mean, I think, I don't know. Like I said to you, like I don't necessarily, like I'm not Jewish, I'm not Palestinian. I mean, it's hard, especially coming from like a third-party approach to want to like I will 100% say that like I've always been pro-Palestine in the sense of like.
Does that mean anti-Israel?
No, I don't think it has to mean anti-Israel, right?
Pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel does not have to be like.
Yeah, it's not mutually exclusive, right? So I think at this point, like a lot of times people get really caught up in semantics when we talk about politics rather than like being able to like actually approach the issue at hand. And so it's like you ask, it's like, well, what is anti-Zionist? What is whatever, and like people's perception of these definitions, I think, create a lot more issues than like need to be and like overcomplicate something. Well, it is complicated, and there is like, a lot that goes into it. But I think it creates fluff outside of the real issue and like the core, things that need to be addressed. But man, I think like I'll take a look at your content and stuff. And so I appreciate the conversation.
Likewise, thank you.
Nice to meet you, man.
If you'd like to see more videos, please support us by clicking on the links below.